All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined once again by Troy, Mr. Mahvel Torres.
Hey,
And thank you for joining me and taking time out of this busy holiday season to talk. Like a lot of people want to talk about giving and like receiving of gifts, and how like open-hearted and charitable people can be this time of year. Even though I kind of blow past those the Red Cross, the Christmas Santas, the ringing the bells, because I'm like, I, I I don't believe in charity like that. Like one-to-one charity, fine, but like somebody's house burns down and they're looking, it's like because the insurance company's dragged their feet. I'll help that out directly, that person directly, not some person going around with a can. But
I mean, I
I don't know how
don't
you
really
are with that.
blame you. I don't really blame you. Like I would like to, but I'm very cynical because I don't like I know it's not going to who it has to go. You know what I mean? Like if I knew if I threw cash in that little red bucket, it was gonna go to somebody that needed it. Oh man, I there you can have my change on the way out. I already bought my presents. But like I'm just cynical. I just have a feeling it's gonna go onto the desk of somebody that really, came up with a scheme, and that bothers me.
Yeah, it's like one for the charitable person, 10 for me.
Yeah,
One for
yeah,
the
yeah.
person in need, 10
Two,
for
two for the poor people down the street. 2,000 for me. Three for those people struggling to get some food. 4, 5, 6,000 more for me. And you're like, oh,
one
gee.
one winter jacket, a blanket, 2 cans of food, Mercedes Benz for me. you know?
Because of course I need to drive something good to get around and hand out these canned beans.
Exactly. Like if one of these charitable members, like the charity people, like say like Northeast or wherever, was driving like this beat up, hoopty, rusted out bottom, like you see daylight through the floor, and then I'm like, you know what, I could trust that person, but they're
I
driving a
still wouldn't.
Mercedes.
I
I could,
still wouldn't. I'm
I could.
so cynical. I'm like, that bastard knew that I
Oh
was
yeah,
going
yeah.
to.
See, I guess like you got a few years on me, so you're able, you're a little bit more hardened, and also you're from the you're a masshole. You're from up,
Yeah, I mean,
Massachusetts.
to me, honestly, because I went to Catholic school and I grew up Catholic. These days, I tend to be more like generic Christian, but definitely with Catholic influence. But I mean, like, to me, charity's more like, you go to the church drive and you give extra food, you give extra clothes. You know what I mean? You know the people that it's going to. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like we know human, you know human nature. I know human nature. I worked security for over a decade. The place I worked at was one of the few places to hire felons. And I'm not talking about, oh, this guy got caught, too many, joints or something. I'm talking attempted murder. I'm talking home invasions, robbery, rapists. I mean, there was one guy in there. He was a pedophile, and I told him to get them out of my sight before I crack his skull open. I'm like, and I caught myself after the fact that I just threatened to, crack somebody's skull open. I'm going to lose my job if not have the sheriff's department come. Nobody did nothing. I guess it was like one of those things. Like, what are you going to do? Defend a pedophile? So
I
it's one of
mean,
those deals.
it,
But
it, I've had those moments. There's nothing like, especially, I live in the hood these days again, and I have throughout my life. But there's nothing like being on a busy public transit bus, and a kid's going nuts, and you see the mom, she's stressing, and all of a sudden she kind of gives that look around to everybody, and everybody in unison turns their head and lets her do her thing. And you just hear crack, crack, and no more kid whining.
well, and that's
And
that's the reality, though. That right there. Like I grew up with corporal punishment, but I actually learned from it. It's like one of those things. You can these people that try to rationalize, stuff with children. Like you're talking to an irrational being who won't be a fully formed person until they're like 20 or so, and even then, that's a little iffy. But to break somebody out of their rational behavior, you got to enforce some kind of corporal punishment. Wow,
yeah,
we really got off topic. What I was saying
mm,
is,
Mr.
oh, well, this is interesting. But no, no, seriously, like I do believe in corporal punishment. There is a taking it too far, uh, but it's like just like anything, humans take things way too far. It's like and like tonight's little subject, comics creator union. It's like the idea of like, hey, people being paid fairly for what they do. That's great. But we know it's going to happen because we know human nature and we know how unions and guilds and all these other organizations work because corruption always follows suit. So I figured, so Troy, as both of us are, I think you had coined the thing, we are the alpha when it comes to creators and comics. We do everything ourselves.
Apex. We are the apex creators. And I don't mean that in like even like an arrogant way, but just, you know, I get an idea, I come up with a concept, I do whatever writing I do in my version, I pencil, I ink, I color, I present. Whether it's a comic, whether it's a piece, whether it's a pinup, other people's work, there's something about being that I can do it all myself type of creator it's very liberating.
That's something that's missing. Like a lot of creators nowadays, they, I understand they have an idea, but they really want somebody like us or an illustrator to flesh it out for them and only pay like pennies on the dollar for fleshing out an idea and basically developing it, taking grains of sand and building you know a a window for a chapel, turning it from grains of sand into this stained glass window.
Yeah.
And like, oh yeah, I'll pay you like, $20. I'm like, whoa, no, that ain't gonna cut it. $20 a page. No, I want maybe for letters, maybe for colors, depending on how many pages. If it was like 5 pages, 10 pages, I could do 20 pages, $20
If
a
you're
page.
gonna give me a high amount of pages, I mean, I'd probably give you rough pencils for $20 a page if you were talking like 25 pages. Because I'd just bang out them pencils and be like, here, have fun. And when they're
Exactly.
like, that's it. Well, it's pencils, bro. That's what I do for my pencils.
Yeah, when people
You're paying
expect,
for my version of pencils. That's not much.
yeah, when people expect the Titan pencils, like when they do the straight pencils to colors, like they do nowadays for a lot of books,
Ooh, and I love that too. And oh man, does that look pretty?
you can get really like that stuff can be really good, but then you can see stuff that's really like you really need an inker to finish that workout because it looks
Yeah.
rough. It's like when they did a Invaders Avengers book. It was Alex Ross like kind of co-writing it, and the artist they had, I'd seen his work previously on JSA back in the early 2000s. Steven Sadowski, I believe his name is. Great artist, but he had an inker. He didn't have an inker here. It was just his pencils. The artwork was just, it looked like everybody was falling apart at the seams. Like they were just like
Ooh.
rubbery men and rubbery women. Like the covers are Alex Ross. So they drew you in with that, but the interiors are not so great. But personal preferences and all that stuff, your mileage may
Yeah,
vary.
that's what it would look like if I went pencils to color. No, seriously, like
The
my
attack
pencils
of the
aren't where
Roman.
it's strong. Mine's the inks. That's where my work comes to life. It's in the inks.
Same here.
That's why I almost never do pencils to colors. Only if I'm doing like the roughest, quickest meme, something for a meme, and even then, no,
Yeah, the only time I do it is like when I'm trying to show an example of something, or if it's do a pencil
exactly
sketch and then color it. So it's kind of, I got the idea in my head at that
right,
moment. I don't want to forget it. So
right.
I did a cover. It was Oma. It was a little thumbnail cover, and I mean, I'm literally like 1 inch by 2 inches. It would be equate is digital, but it would equate to that size in real life. And it was a homage cover to Thriller, not Thriller. Sorry, the not Captain EO. What's the one? Moonwalker,
Right, right.
the Michael Jackson Moonwalker poster, and it was something dumb and fun and all that stuff. But that's one of the few times, and it looks rough. But that's like the whole thing. I did it for myself, and that's
Oh, I
it. That's
mean, for self, oh yeah, I do it all the time. If I'm just doing it for self, yeah, I'll do some pencils, desaturate it down, darken it up, and just do a multiplied layer over, and just just kind of quickly, like literally, just whip over some colors so I get a sense of concept.
exactly. So like back in this kind of touches upon this right here. Like, back in 1978, the Comic Book Creators Guild, which is a union. I mean, it's guilds, unions. But when you say guilds nowadays, people think of, like Dragon Age and Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls stuff. Assassins Guild, Thieves Guild, da, da, da. So it's all over the place. But it's guilds, unions, same thing, and unions are a little bit easier to like wrap your head around. So in '78, you still had union power. Now it's been, politically, unions have always been tied to Democrats, and Democrats have sold out the unions over the years. So it's like they want more unions, which means more collective bargaining power, more money to be raised, and be like tell your union members to vote Democrat, to donate to the Democratic Party. The union donates money as the entity of itself, but union power has gone down. I grew up in a union family, electrical union, IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. And when you have a job like that, I understand that kind of job. I understand like coal mining unions and stuff along those lines, where you're working a job that could be potentially dangerous and hazardous to not only you, but other people. Like you could, like, hey, wire someplace up. You hire some quote unquote scab labor, wire a hospital up. Well, they put the wrong wiring in there. They skint it. They didn't use the lubricant to get it around a corner. The wire got skint, and eventually it arcs and burns down the neonatal unit of hospital, or something horrible along those lines. And that could happen. Now, granted, that could happen with a union, but less likely because you got people in there supposedly know what they're doing. But when it comes to a creative field, where anybody in that union, you have people that have been there 20 years, 30 years, whatever, or people that just got in, that come in as apprentices, all that kind of stuff. You have roughly the same knowledge. But when it comes to a creator, I am not on the same level as a Will Eisner or Frank Miller or Joe Kubert, Alex. I'm not on that same level. But to ask, so Alex Ross gets paid the same level I get paid, that makes no sense. Even I would see that, like that kind of thing. He would be able to negotiate more, but it's like the base rate would be this. And I wanted to bring this up on the screen. There's a screen share real quick. I don't know. You should be able to see this, but in 78, May 15th, 1978, the Comics Creators Guild, which was made up of Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, Walt Simonson, Paul Levitz, Jim Shooter, and they were like, talking about like, standard page rates. And like, so you get $300 of artwork per page. Now that does not say pencils or inks. So you're talking about, like say penciler and inker doing the same job. So $300 a page, $100 per page for script, lettering $40, and coloring, per page $70. So that's $500. If you add that all up, so what we do, that'd be $510 per page. Well, alone, pencils would be the line art would be $1,100 in today's money per page. So you're talking over 20 grand for a single comic book per artist. So for 22 page comic, you're talking over 20 grand. I don't think anybody could afford that. If that's the flat rate, if that's the base rate, I could never. Yeah, nobody could afford me, and I couldn't afford to work with somebody else. That's why
you wouldn't be working. You wouldn't be working. You'd have to be. That something to that extent would have to be for like top industry. And I feel if you're going to make proper guilds, you'd have to tier them. You'd have to tier them basically by market power. Because so I would say that would be reasonable to present to a company like, let's say, Marvel or DC. You could present that to them and be part of a guild and go in there and say, well, in order to get me to make your book, you had to pay me 20 grand per book. You couldn't do that to an indie person.
No, of course not. But that's the thing.
Like absolutely not. I mean, even at some point, a realistic number, a fair number could even lay anywhere between 2 to 5 grand. And that's a realistic number. And it's going to depend on your page count and what you're looking to get out of the artist. A lot of people can't afford that. I mean, I'm not going to even talk shit. I couldn't afford that. If I had to give somebody 2 grand to get my book done, my book's sitting there for a bit. Or I'm like not buying a new video game ever, or counting my mileage so that I only put in enough gas that I can afford.
Yeah. And that's the problem. I mean, that you're talking at this point, you'd have to be, like you said, the Marvel DC level. And this actually, I was reading about Penthouse Comics, and Penthouse, the pornography magazine. Bob Guccione, he had Penthouse Comics in the 90s, and the page rate back then was like $1,000 a page. So these artists were only doing about 8 to 12 page stories. So it's like an anthology kind of story, very adult themed. Some of them have a lot of sexuality stuff. Some would just have like nudity, other just like adult humor, stuff like that. But at that point, like they could pay that, but even that ride didn't last forever. I think it lasted like 5 years, and then it was done. And then I think the quality went downhill because the page rates went down because they couldn't. You can't ride it at that high of a level because you had early days Adam Hughes, who I like, but he can't draw an ass on a woman to save his life. They all have they have like man butts. They have Hank. All his women's asses have their Hank Hill ass.
I got deteriorated glutes.
Narrow urethras too. But
you know what? Quick side note, I have to say that's probably one of my all-time favorite cartoon series.
Oh, King of the Hill, yeah, it's great. That's one of those certain episodes that never get aired again. The one with the Pygmalion episode, the one where the Michael Keaton's in it. That was like disturbing. The D&D episode stuff. I mean, there's some really good. I hate Peggy. Oh, I hate Peggy so much.
Ooh, I saw the absolute greatest theory on Peggy, because I also hate Peggy, but I realized I didn't always hate Peggy. When she went on that skydiving trip and her parachute didn't open and she hit the ground, she did sustain a bit of brain damage.
So she turned into
I saw
like
a theory that proved it. Yeah, her conceitedness and whatnot came to a far more severe head injury than she was diagnosed with, because you can see her progressively becoming more and more arrogant. You can see her Spanish getting worse and worse.
That might be really deep. That I could see that happening though, because like people misjudge Mike Judge for being like, oh, you're dumb. But I honestly think the dude's like, well, Idiocracy proves how on the nose the guy is. So
yeah,
it's like,
no. And there's some cool theories, like the last episode, Boomhauer puts down his wallet, shows he's a Texas Ranger. There's a theory stated that he basically is stationed to be near Dale because he actually is on government lists.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. Oh, I mean, hell, Boomhauer being there for Dale, but also being there for Bill. I mean, these guys, like it's like that movie Arlington Road, except more fun. Like the terrorists living next door. It's like you got two with Bill and Dale and everything. But I mean, it works great. I mean, it's one of those things like you're dealing with, that show, like limited, kind of limited time span. It could have been produced. A great show, such a great show. But the page rates, you couldn't afford, a person at this page rate. And then let's say the Creators Guild, there's because the Creators Guild's aligned with, let's say, the Writers Guild, the Screenwriters Guild. And the Screenwriters Guild goes on strike again. Thanks to them, we lost that potential amazing movie / freak / car crash that would have been George Miller's Justice League, the one with Armie Hammer. He was supposed to be Batman, and then it was supposed to be like weren't doing this. This was before the Marvel Universe. This has been like 2007. They were just going to throw the Justice League out there. This is before everybody had you have to build up to it. No, you don't. You don't have to build. Marvel did it because nobody cared about Captain America or Iron Man or any of that stuff. Nobody cared. They didn't have the X-Men to work with. They didn't have Spider-Man. They had to build from the ground up because they had no other choice. But because the writer's strike, we lost that. We lost Heroes because Heroes just season 2, they had to just wrap it up because of the writer's strike. And thanks to that, we had the proliferation of reality TV. So let's say the Creators Guild has to go on strike because they're affiliated with the Writers Guild, and in doing so, no comic books that month or for the next couple months. So what is the publisher going to do? Hire scabs,
I mean, as I was going to say, at that point, you hire me, and I call myself Mr. Scabba.
just pay the checks to.
Oh yeah, no, I just without any kind of without any shame, I just go out there and be like, yeah, no, you can hire me. I'll draw your stuff.
Yeah, just undercut it a tiny bit to make, or just same page rate actually, because
I would take the same one that they're protesting against and be like, fine, I'll do it. If they don't want to do it for that, I'll do it because I need to feed people.
Yeah, 20 grand a year to do, well, 20 grand, not even a year, a month. Because the artist should be able to do a comic in a month. Like, I mean, it's professional, like Marvel, old school artists, where they do like 12 issues in a year and actually have all the issues out without any delays. Now you can't even get, 3, 4 months without creator, bowing out or taking a break or any of that stuff. I'm, you have a job. I have jobs, plural. Nothing, nothing 100% concrete. Not a full time job anymore. I don't know if I could do it anymore. Too many gray hairs. But yeah, this is. But you have people that their job is to make comic books, and they can't even do that. And then, oh, no one will notice. No one, they're not that plugged in. The condescension when it comes to a lot of these, writers, editors, hell, even artists to some degree. They're not as bad because usually they're more busy than editors, and like editors, colorists, writers, they're the troublemakers in comics because they got nothing else to do. The artists are out there busting their ass usually. Uh,
Yeah, no, there is it's an unbalance in creation unless there's an art team. You know what I mean? If you have a penciler, an inker, and a colorist all separate, you know what I mean. There's a little less burden on the artist.
Yeah,
Someone
even
tackling like pencils, inks, he's in for it. Anybody doing all three for somebody, yeah, yeah, I just, even if it sounds biased, you got to give a little more to that guy.
yeah, you got to. I mean, that right there. Like if I were to work on a project for someone and I'm doing pencils, inks, colors, what have you, doing pretty much everything but the writing. Because when you're doing lettering, you're not just doing lettering, you're really doing editing as well. Because if there's like any kind of like, oh, wait a second, this doesn't work, you put too many words, like you have this panel described this way, unless they're like going kind of the Marvel method, like, kind of like try to fit it in here kind of thing. But like, no, this has to be in the script. I'm like, you have too many words for this page because you're not going to be able, like, I would have to change the whole page. So it's like going in and editing things. So there's a lot of people that don't, writers, unless, that's why I like doing my own thing. Like, a lot of the time, half the script is made up on the fly. I will have general idea. I'll write ideas down, but I'm willing to change it. I can edit it on the fly because I'm my own
Absolutely,
boss. But when you
absolutely.
but when you have to work for someone, and especially when that writer is getting paid, like say $100 a page according to that guild, which would be the inflation calculator, that would be currently $100 a page. That'd be $392 a page and 7 cents, 392.07 per page. So you'd have to be doing. I was like, you gotta give me some of that. You gotta give me at least $50 to $100 of that if I'm having to correct your stuff on the fly. I mean, this is not. This is can't fly. I mean, you just cannot do this and expect, you know, oh wow, that's just part of the job. I was like, no, I'm doing like 90% of the work, if not more, and only getting a slight fraction of it and having no profit sharing. There's like no, you know,
See, to me, I feel like you couldn't get a guild, union, whatever, to work in this day and age in the industry. Um, Simply because you're gonna I don't know, dude. I don't want to sound like a cynical ass, but
do it,
you're
do
just
it.
gonna get you're just gonna get people like crying that they can't get into the guild or it's not fair. You're gonna start to get groups. It's gonna start to get intersectional. It's gonna get broken down, and it's gonna be ruined. And it's
You
just
know,
gonna be ruined.
that's exactly what that is exactly what would happen because the problem is the more collective something gets, the easier it can fracture. The less is like I'm associated with a lot of creators and people like I'll for the most part if somebody sends a reply to me or an email, I'll get back to them. I'm not going to be like some snob like, oh, I'm on the hill, you're too good for me, unless you're like I reply once and then like there's like 15 replies afterwards. It's like a screed, some kind of manifesto about like something. I'm like, dude, I haven't got time to read all this, and then that happens. But for the most part, like I'll get back to people. But when it comes to associating with people, like signing up with them, just allying myself, I'm only there for me. I take care of myself first and foremost. And I will like chime up to somebody I know, like hey man, just be careful out there. You watch your back. I'm keeping an eye out for you too. That kind of stuff. But that's about as far as it'll go. But this idea of a guild, this creators union getting together and then having Okay, because these creators, you can automatically get political. There's no way of getting around it because to have power as a union, you have to have political backing. You had to have some kind of politician. Like our creator rights, these creators working on these comic books deserve to be stood up for because their projects are being turned into major motion pictures with backing outside of the United States and China. We need to make these productions American made with American crews with American money, whatever. And that's the problem with a lot of it eventually turns political, which eventually turns corrupt. Any organization can easily be corrupted.
Oh,
Individuals can be
100%. And it's
individuals
going
can
to
be
be.
corrupted too, but
And it's going to be. That we know we live in the post benefit of the doubt age. I'm sorry to say.
yeah.
We live in the age where you can't give anything the benefit of the doubt that it's going to stay on rail and that it's going to go the way it goes. You know what I mean? You already risk with something like that, uh, somebody taking it to the courts in order to be allowed in. And once it starts to get there, once it gets that political, it will crumble.
People
It
don't
will
see
crumble.
that. There's a lot of people that don't see that still because like, they're so sheltered that when it
No,
comes to
no,
it,
no. We are in post benefit of the doubt. The only way you pull something like this off, you won't even get to make it a guild. You would have to have someone create a private publishing company that holds these rates themselves out of honor. And they have to have such an initial backing to be able to start people off at that rate.
well,
And
hell, I
then at
mean,
that point, you'd have to have the highest of industry standards so that you know the turnaround on the books are going to be big. And then you'd have to have someone with enough balls so that when a group comes to their door and says, that's not fair, you're doing that, that they respond by going, get the fuck off my lawn. And you're just not going to get that series of events. Um, my advice to everybody, if you're a writer and you want an artist, if you're going to go top notch, start saving fucking money. Start saving fucking money to get your top notch guy. If not, start hiring someone good enough to get your story out there so that you can start getting eyes on it so that it starts getting like sold so that you can start to afford the big guy that you actually want. Period. I think these days we're back to the age of start from fucking scratch.
do it yourself. Do it
Do it
yourself,
yourself.
and
If
this
you're
thing,
an artist and you've got nothing going on, start fucking commissioning until you get the fucking attention of a writer that needs somebody.
I say,
Go
do
out
it
there and
yourself
sell
though.
yourself. Don't just sit there and post art and be like, oh, I need a writer. No, no. Start selling art. Start improving your shit. Start building a budget so that when you're an artist and somebody commissions you for something and you can't pull it off, you can sub-commission someone under you to pull it off for you. And then you take it and you do it from there.
I say, do
Because
it yourself though.
that's literally how, well, I mean, no,
Well, I mean,
not
well, I'm saying even the artists like
yourself,
doing like
but
everything.
let's say you're commissioned to do a scene that has an extreme explosion and you need to hire someone to do the lighting effect at the end when you've colored everything.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah.
You know, and that's a realistic thing. That's something I actually would give someone the advice of. If you can't, like, let's say you're like, all right, I need to have this um underwater, but I don't know how to color this page now. You hire someone to color that page
I'd
so
cheat
that it
though.
has you,
With explosion, I'd just cheat. I'd like cut to a woman's face like shocked, and there's like like that. Like
no, I mean, me personally, I would just take the time to learn the technique. But let's say somebody's like, here's a grant. I need a pinup poster by tomorrow, this effect that you know nothing of. I'm probably going to offer somebody like good, 300, pull this off by tonight. You know what I mean? Here's my fucking pencil. Here's the inks. Here's my color scheme. Here's everything. Go for it. And then that's how you build an industry. And that's literally how it is. Um,
we,
I don't just sell myself for a complete book. If you want to hire me for the pencils, I'll do it. If you want to hire me for the inks, I'll do it. You know what I mean? If you need me to add a color effect to something, if you don't know how to pull off the lasers like I do, um, I would see no begrudging in somebody doing that. It's a fucking business. When you're producing a movie and you're like, damn, I need a chandelier to explode in front of everybody right now, but if I do that, I kill everyone. All right, well, hire a CGI guy. All right, well, go look for a team. All right, we found a team. All right, hire them. All right, yeah, they gave us a scene. All right, cool. Let's keep going. Like that's art. That's production. That's
Yeah,
entertainment.
and that's the thing. Like I'm so I'm more like Ed Wood than anything. Well, even he had a team. I'm talking like I do everything myself, and even I will try certain things out. Like if I sometimes I'm like hell with it, I'll just cheat. Like I said, like instead of showing an explosion, show a person's reaction to an explosion. But with that kind of thing, like I mean, like I said, learning how to do it yourself, or like I said, subcontract, especially if you're under a time crunch, and that should be an option. But there are some, like, or have somebody do it in a rough fashion that you could actually finish off.
Right.
Yeah,
Then you hire pencils from somebody.
yeah. Like, how would you do this? I'm like, okay, basically just trace that or like copy it visually, not necessarily
Yeah. Oh
trace.
man, I need to have a complicated lush jungle background, and I don't do that at all. All right, I'm gonna hire someone to paint the background, and I added my models digitally, and then I credit them.
Exactly. There you go. Like, like special thanks to da, 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 da.
Yeah, yeah, you
But
straight up put it in there. Even if you're gonna get specific, page this, and that. This artist. You
additional
make sure you
additional backgrounds on this page by this artist. Da, 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 da. Like you actually give credit because
yeah,
a lot
you
of
give full credit. You give them permission. Hashtag team this Mr. Marvel project. And feel good, feel proud. Uh, I think honorable work ethic is more better for it would benefit um the independent artist community much more than a guild. Getting
I
back
think
to
so too.
honorable work.
Because the idea of honor in comics is, I mean, I know people, the guy's not been not been dead that long, but people are like, oh my God, Stan Lee. This I know a lot of people love Stan Lee, and I'm like, I held my tongue as long as I could. But Stan Lee was not an honorable man. This is a guy who, granted, he was gotten, the nephew of the guy who owned the company, so nepotism to the extreme. People hate like, well, why'd you hire that person? Because they're friends or family. That's the only reason he got a job and kept his job. And like all his writing, everybody's like, oh my God, the praise of his writing and all that. The reason, because they got paid per word. So all that extra expository dialogue, the only reason that was there because he got paid per the word. That was until I think it kind of changed when Steranko held a dude out the window because he wouldn't pay him for pages he wrote when he was doing the Nick Fury comic. He's like, there ain't no words on those pages. I'm not paying you for it. Save people to Suge Knight, and he got his money. That's why I
See,
love
but
Steranko.
here's my thing when it comes to him though. He he never used it to be a dickhead though.
But he
He
used it
never.
for himself to climb above other people. Like when they'd slap being the publisher, the owner's nephew, and then moving, he sold off anything like okay, he couldn't write. He wanted to write the Great American Novel. That's why he didn't use Stanley Lieber. It wasn't like because he's Jewish. No, Will Eisner. Eisner is a Jewish name. No, like Joe Kubert. These are all Jewish names. It wasn't because he's Jewish and they were anti-Semitic. No, he didn't want to have his name associated with comic books because comic books were for kids until it started getting popular especially in the '60s on college campuses and stuff. And like, we're touching upon the idea of mutants and conflict between that kind of stuff. Whatever the hotbed, growing political stuff on campuses and young teenagers and he's like, hip, new, and fresh. I'm wearing my hairpiece. I'm going to sell out the rights to everything so I can possibly associate myself with this TV show or movie and slap Stanley Presents to a book he didn't have nothing to do with or put the editor above the artist. How dare he put the I edited the book editor before the writer and artist. That right there is a slap in the face to anybody that actually worked on that thing. Well, it's an honor. Like these people, oh my God, it's an honor to work with Stan Lee. He's my favorite writer. Then you're a dummy. You are a fucking idiot. I am sorry that you have such poor taste in writers, but you're a fucking idiot for saying oh my God, he's my favorite writer. It's like, oh my God, he's a fucking hack who was able to make his way upwards because he couldn't fail. It's like it's like instead of a person walking a tightrope, and there's a safety net. He was walking across a parking lot with his arms out like he was balancing, on asphalt. Like, like there's no way he's going to fall. unless somebody come up and tackled them. But like it's such a horrible creative environment that Steve Ditko is like, fuck this, and I'm walking away. But Stanley's like, but we pay more money than Charlton. Yeah, but Charlton gave him creative freedom. They paid less, but they gave him creative freedom. Do people wonder why?
Speaking of creative freedom, though, I think that's something else we'd lose if you had a guild.
Yes, you would. Because here's the thing. Like I was looking at this guild thing, and according to the guild, fees for foreign first publication rights, 25% of the fees for first North American publication rights. So instead of you have to get paid $75 per if you did line art on a book, $75 per book, and fees for reprints, 50% of the fees of first American. So basically, you'd have paid $150. So if the book ever got reprinted, you'd have to be paid $150. Like there's no company because it's $44,000 at the very least. $44,000. That's for pencils, inks, colors, letters, and writing per book. That's for one comic, 122-page comic. That's not including cover art. So let's just say it's $45,000. Let's say it's $45,000 roughly for a whole comic book. That's cover, interiors, everything. No company could afford that and pay residuals and publication rights in overseas. And this is just base pay. This isn't cream of the crop creator, whatever. And the idea, like a company like that's going to say, like, no, you're not going to have any freedom. We're going to make this as it'll make it like a Disney film where they're not playing fast and loose. And like, we're going to be a little creative. We're going to go outside the box. Hell no. You do what we say. When we say it, we're paying you this money. You are our puppets. We pull your strings. You move to our whim.
But, yeah. No, seriously. Me personally, if somehow I was working with a big company these days that didn't allow creative rights, I'd never make anybody new. I would never make anybody new. I would strictly just work on existing characters. Like I would, there's no point.
There's no point, definitely at Marvel, because apparently Marvel, KG Beast, he was in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, for that one appearance, Jim Starlin, who created KG Beast, got paid more than for all of the appearances of Thanos, Gamora, Drax, all the rest of them that appeared in the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. That shows you how little Marvel cares. Marvel is a company that instead of returning the original, Jack Kirby got so pissed that Marvel kept his original artwork that when he started working for DC, he actually went and got one of those original Xerox machines, the ones that are about the size of a room, to photocopy his artwork, so he could. So in case it got taken and they didn't give it back to him, he could actually have his original artwork. Because Marvel would. This is a real, like, I think even in the early 70s, late 60s, like Kirby artwork, people like instead of paying, like somebody delivered food to the Marvel offices, they like, oh, here's a page, or they'd be selling it on the black market, because there was a collector's market then, and it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. But you got to think, somebody out there, instead of getting a tip, getting like a few bucks, they got an original page of artwork, one of a kind, or somebody sold it for whatever, and like Marvel kept this stuff, and Jim Shooter started returning it, but it was like too little, too late. This is, that kind of idea, the idea of you don't own anything, like, especially why bother? Why bother with these companies? These make your own stuff. Like Eastman Laird took the piss out of X-Men, Daredevil, and the book Ronin by Frank Miller. All that stuff. He took the piss out of it and made an empire. That potential is always there. You look at even Xenozoic Tales, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Got action figures, video games, TV show, a great TV show, actually. Really, really good, underrated TV show. Didn't last that long, but it was a really good show. But how many people? But that's all sticking to your own guns, doing your own thing. And like you said, why bother making a new character when you're not going to reap the benefits of it?
Exactly. Especially if you're not even guaranteed to be on that character forever. Because if they don't like the way you're writing your own character, they'll just fucking move you off of it and put somebody else on it. See you later.
Exactly. You're dealing with a company that you're a cog in the machine. That's all you are. You are okay. You're a writer. You're an artist. Like you're a Sean Gordon Murphy type. Okay, you're doing Batman White Knight, or you're doing whatever White Knight
Great
2.
one. Great. You still didn't read it, huh?
I read the first issue. I hated it. I was like, I like Sean Gordon Murphy. I like what he does. I'm like, you know what, Sean Gordon Murphy, good for you that you're a writer, artist, doing your own thing and getting your own DC book, and everybody loves it. I hate the book, but it's that's the thing. It's like I think I tweeted that at him. I don't know. I think he might have liked it. I don't know, but it's like I hate the book. I threw it in the trash when I was done. But I applaud you for getting that ability and people liking it. It's I know that's like how do you not like it? I hated. I did the same thing for Doomsday Clock. I hated that. Threw that in the trash. And
I just uh caught up and bought what I was missing, and like I'm struggling to even read. Like I haven't even picked them up and looked. Like I have them. They're at work still. I haven't even brought them home. They're like sitting on my desk at work. And I'm like, it just went too slow. Like the story got really slow. And then when they, made it like a bi-monthly, it was like
are
I
you talking
just
Doomsday Clock or White Knight?
Doomsday.
Oh yeah, that right there. That was one of those things. Like people like I threw that in the trash. Same thing when I got the print, the Doctor Manhattan Superman print. It's like 11 by 17. I'm like, I read the book. I hated it so much. I tore it up, tore the book, and tore the poster, threw it in the trash. I was like, well, I just made the collector world happy because I made less copies in the world.
There you go.
I did the collector market a solid, but it was one of those things. Like this is supposed to be the pinnacle of we're gonna bring back the Watchmen's characters, and nothing really happens in that first. Well, though nothing happened in the first book of Watchmen. No, it intrigued you. It's like, all right, tell me more. And I mean, this is after the whole thing got spoiled. I read Watchmen years and years later, like 20 years after the fact, and I still enjoyed it. Like it was like even with the ending spoiled. And even with all the little plot stuff, oh, this is the real killer, and this and that. Oh, yeah, I did it. Ozymandias, all this and that. It was still intriguing. It was well written.
Damn, that was a great. Oh my God, was that a great, 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 great series, dude.
You know
I
why? Because even though people shit on Alan Moore for being this, crazy crackpot, occultist, he's the socialist cultist, he hates whatever. DC fucked him, but everybody forgets that part. DC's like, okay, when it goes out of print, the rights revert back to you and Dave Gibbons, and of course they're like, shit, this is a hot seller. They keep it in print all the time to keep it away from that ever happening, to intentionally fuck them.
Yeah.
And then with Watchmen, Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore were like jamming together to work it. Like I think it took 13 months to do 12 issues, and you're talking 30 pages each, plus the covers and all that stuff and the back material. You're talking like 40-page, like really 12, 40-page comics roughly. That's a lot of fucking. That's almost a year and a half's worth of comics they did in a little over a year. I think the last issue was late because they were. They were professional. You're talking a year, 2 years for Doomsday Clock, and apparently it's holding up JSA and it's holding up Legion of Superheroes and all this other stuff. That just goes to show you there is zero accountability there. Like, what happened to with a guild? Okay, let's say this guild they haven't addressed any of it, but you know how unions like the teachers unions, especially up northeast, are a fucking nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
They're all unionized. It's like, oh, teachers, we're gonna like the teaching today fucking stinks. I should know because I'm my lack of education. I blame the schools for that and the teachers.
I
And
went
the
to Catholic
apathy.
school. I'm very well educated.
So there you go. You had corporal punishment as a potential, so you had to watch out.
Oh, I mean,
But
honestly, they weren't that kind of nuns. They were just like extra strict and scared the shit out of you with God and Jesus.
I
And I
had
feel
when I went to elementary school, I actually had when I first started at school, there was two schools. There was the elementary school and the high school. Elementary school went K through 8, and then the high school, of course, 9 through 12. And then after first grade, actually, uh, they opened up a new school for second, for like was it, no, sorry, after second grade, they opened up 3 through 5, And then what was the elementary school became the, or it's like it was basically, it's all confusing. But either way, I'm just the second elementary school. I got in trouble one time. Like they gave me an option: 2 days home or get the Texas Tailblazer. Be and the kid that I think I was in a fight with, or really he was beating me up, and I was like, he had his friends around him, so I knew if I started throwing punches, I'd get my ass kicked. Even though I was a little smart back then, it's like just take the pain. But he's like this kid. Before I can even really like give the whole spiel, he just bends over the table, takes the licks from the Texas Tailblazers. I'm like, you ain't touching me with that. Call my mother. Well, she'll, and like she got all pissed off. She's like, you wanted to beat my son? Who are you? It's like so a cool mom, but yeah, the education system's all fucked. But hiring people is one thing. Firing them, especially if they're in a union or a guild, is fucking nightmarish. Like you got to put them in rubber. Them teachers, they got to put in rubber rooms. Like you could do all these horrible things, but if you got tenure, if you're protected, from by the union, the guild. Mention some artists not delivering pages on time. Like, oh, you don't know the struggles of an artist. I'm a creator. Like, bitch, you got to do your fucking job. This is not. You can't fuck around.
Do the work.
No, nobody does it though. Nobody does it, and that's the problem with the modern day. You could say, "Oh, it's the phones, or it's the video games." Oh no, I wasn't able to get those pages out because I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Or oh no,
oh, God, I want to jump into it. I have it. I bought it, and I haven't touched it yet.
Story mode is really great. The online player, I finally tried the online mode.
I did the beta. I tried the beta, and I almost. It was man. It was like I was like flicking the needle. I had the rubber around my arm, and I was getting ready. And now you're kidding. At the last minute, I was like, you know what? I got work to do, and I just put it down and I walked away. But it was fun. It was fun.
I'm glad. I had the exact. It's like imagine like that, except I got a hot shot. It was tainted. It was like tainted heroin instead of. It's like my body felt like it was on fire because I was like. Man. Because remember in GTA you'd have to be able to do missions and be able to select if you want to do it solo or like search out some other players.
Yeah,
it forced me to be grouped up with a bunch of randos who didn't know what they were doing. And then I was just on my way to another mission area, Blackwater, which is that big town from the first game, and I was on my way there, and I see this like pink dot off in the distance. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then pink dot starts following me, and I look behind me, and there's a guy on horseback chasing after me with a lasso. I'm like, he wants to lasso me up. And so what I do is I jump off my horse, and because horses can't stop on a dime, so he's got to turn around, and he lassos me a bit, and he's like tap X to escape. So I escape. And I'm like, and he's still trying to lasso me. He gets off his horse on this. I'm like, he wants to tie me up and like throw me off a bridge or throw me in front of a train or just humiliating to me. I'm like, just kill me. Like, if you want to kill me, kill me. Don't humiliate me.
I had the opposite. I had the opposite. So like, I just finished a mission, and I wanted to go to the town because I wanted to check out like if they had like gambling or anything. And I go into town, and like once again, pinked up, but there was like.
There, Troy.
And they were just getting it in, and a whole bunch of NPC sheriffs were there, and I'm just minding my business. And by the way, I made like a skin chick named Juanita, and she was badass, and I gave her like the limp, and she was just walking around like a female essay. And out of nowhere, they started shooting at me, so I shot back, and I did one because I was nasty. Oh, it was nasty on Red Dead, so I just jumped right back into it, and I just deaded the dude. All of a sudden, this other guy comes out of nowhere, runs, tackles me, gets me down. I tap, get up, shotgun him right in the face. His friend comes through, shotgun him right on the shot. And I just got out of there, dude. And I just started getting on my horse, and I got out, dude. I had a lot of fun in the online. But then they found me, and then they like made a triangle around me. And that was not as fun.
So that's like that right there. My exact, you had the opposite interaction I did. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take a break from this. This wasn't that fun. Unless you're partied up, I'm like, go with a posse. But
like, I think they were like really insulted that it was like a female character too. Like that's and with these, because I mean, imagine You're like these, but there was one dude with like a handlebar mustache. Another guy looked like a hick, and he was barefoot with just overalls, and you know what I mean. And they were huge, burly characters. And like I don't know where this like little Spanish chick just kicked all their asses and killed them.
See, and that's the thing. Like, I know I'll topic in a way, but you know that well, not really. I mean, it's kind of like how the industry does. You have a bunch of people they underestimate the little Spanish chick, and then the little Spanish chick kicks their ass. It's like, wow, because like that's the thing. Like, yeah, that right there, a little Spanish chick represents the creator spirit. The independent creator, the one that's
Exactly.
owning everything, while your Marvels, your DCs, your Images, whatever. Images really not. They just clearing house. Everybody's like, well, the big three. That's that's not
No,
really
big three.
accurate. But
I don't think it's ever been big three.
I think the
They've
third.
always just kind of been there, but it's like
Yeah, well,
ah.
at one time there was three. That was Fawcett, but then DC sued him into oblivion because Fawcett was kicking DC's ass in sales. Because who wants
Right.
to read some humdrum Superman stuff when you had Captain Marvel, Mary Marvel, and Captain Marvel Jr.? Elvis didn't take his stylings from Superman; he took it from Captain Marvel Jr. And a lot of talented black musicians. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's
And Forrest Gump.
and Forrest Gump. Hey kid, you do pretty good.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah, damn.
oh, no, dang.
Well,
Uh,
hey, somebody once told the president he looks like. No, no, I'm sorry. I'm
uh,
sorry. We got off way off, way off.
but yeah, like, it's that right there. Like, there is a corporation that can own, you know, have all these movies and make all these TV shows and all these products, mugs, T-shirts, all that, and, bobblehead figures and the ugly ass Funko figures. Like they're a hunk of plastic that doesn't even move. I got I got a Vault Tech bobblehead that I got from the Fallout 3 deluxe box with the lunchbox and everything, which I put some movies in and everything like that. The bobblehead actually has movement to it. Them Funko things are just ugly. They all look the same. It's like, but they're collectible. It's like Beanie Babies make more sense. You hand them to a kid, and the kid can. Well, how can a kid enjoy Funko?
I
Hunk
don't
of
know. They just, I don't know. They're like, I never get them. I feel like it's a tease of something better. Like I'd rather spend the money on like I hate to say it. If I'm gonna spend that money, I'd rather get one of those little like blind boxes and see if you get a cool little character to put on your desk.
You know what? That actually be better. That take the gamble. At least
I'll
with a
take the
gamble, you have a
gamble,
chance of actually having something cool.
because you never know, and you're like, oh yes, I got a Kuma.
Well, that's a good choice. I mean, you know. But look for me, like, but that's the thing. For me, you can have PR departments at Marvel and DC and all this, but how many times have they shit the bed? Like somebody like you have great people. Like as far as PR goes, your interactivity with people, the community, your potential customers, people that read your read your comics like JuanPool, and people that like and enjoy your artwork and share it. You can't buy better than what you do. You know what I'm saying? It's like that right there. It's like what you do, what other creators and people that the independent spirit. You can't go to college for that shit. You know,
No,
you know. There's something about like you can have like, oh, I have a major in this public communications, and so I'm a part of the PR department here at Marvel. I'm like, what the fuck? You guys shit the bed on a regular basis. the,
yeah,
the sheets will never be clean, but these somebody that actually cares for what they're doing, that owns it and has a stake in it, unless they're a total fucking idiot. It's like these people are like, oh, these creators are so impolite. They have no stake. They get paid up front for doing something, and then like fuck it, maybe promote it, maybe not.
you
Don't read it
know,
if you don't like it. Like that kind of
honestly,
shit.
my response to that lately these days when people are like, well, these creators they say this and they have no respect and they have no professionalism. So,
But that's the thing.
and
What do you
that's it.
expect?
So,
What do you expect?
and what do
It's
you
like these.
and honestly, well, yeah, no, yeah. What do you expect? What do you expect? Like
Like there's.
you get a bunch of spoiled like fucking art school fucking frou frou little assholes. Give them their little pennies up front that they're asking because to them it's awesome. You know what I mean? Because most of these people they when you talk about the salaries that these idiot uh professional creators that these big companies are getting, they're getting these scraps, and they're just too new to understand how little they're valuing themselves. These aren't exactly people that have been around for like 12, 15, 20 years doing it, really putting in work. You know what I mean? Say what you will about, other big creators, but when you could say you got 25 years under your fucking belt, you pay that man his fucking money,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean,
But these people, you know, you got like, some of them, that less than 5 years under their belt. To them, they just the fact that they get to fucking rub it in people's face. To them, that's the pay. To them, that's the payout. To say, "Ha, look what I'm gonna do to Batman next. Look what I'm gonna fucking do to Wolverine next. Oh, you like this series? Look what I'm gonna fucking do to it." That's where they're getting their pay.
and that's the problem. You have people who don't really like, granted, uh, getting someone holding the door open for another person and letting them in. That people that may not deserve to be in there, but they are there to begin with. One of the names that pops in my head, like he had to be one of these people that snuck in while the door was open. That artist Chris Anka. He works a lot for Marvel. Does a lot of Marvel work.
I
He did
see.
that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
His artwork, it's like unfinished, like draft artwork, like a concept kind of stuff where it's like really rough concept work.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody said, okay, let's just publish that. I'm like, it's the same thing with currently with I used to enjoy his artwork. He did a book called Clary and the Witch Boy. His name is Fraser Irving, and his artwork as of late has been utterly horrible. And I feel bad for him. Maybe he's sick and he's just got to work, because some people, it happens. The idea of artists and creators getting health care for what they do. It's like, I understand that's why a lot of people want to have a union, a guild. It's like, but the idea is like, so I have to pay so I'm already poor. I'm gonna have to pay my dues, and hopefully I'll be and so instead of it's just gonna be like what they do with these jobs nowadays. Like, oh, you're working, but you're only working like 10 hours a week. So, but they count that as a job. They don't say if it's full time or not. They just count that as jobs. It's like, well, the job market has grown. No, they've cut hours and hired more people. That's it. That's all that's happened. And it's like, instead of being a 40-hour week, you work 10 hours, and now you have to work 2 or 3 jobs. So really, they count you as like 3 extra workers, which is just utterly bullshit. But what can you do? And this idea of these artists getting hired on because they know someone and that's it. You're hiring your buddies. It's like, it makes no sense to me, but I guess because I'm such an asshole that I don't have that many people that would vouch for me, so I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it's pretty fucked up. It's you know merits should matter. It's like, if it's good, it's good. You can, but also, can you deliver constantly? You could have a great Tumblr account for like, oh, posting this original artwork, and then the oxymoron, a great Tumblr account, but the posting like artwork, people like go there like, oh, send me your Tumblr so I can see your artwork. I'd see that from was it the guy, the Crosby or whatever, Richie or whoever's name is, the guy that runs like Boom Studios. Like,
Yeah.
I see these retweets like, Boom Studios is looking for artists. We're paying this much per page. Send us your Tumblr. Da, da, da. I see people post on Instagram, but all these, you can't really see. You don't see many people actually post sequential pages. They'll post like pinups and cover art and whatever, redesigns of characters, but you don't actually see people doing stories. Like, what you post pages and process work and actually show that you can actually tell a story visually without words. And
Yeah.
the idea that people like this, well, I'll just put up some like, it's like, oh my god, they need to hire this artist from what? Some shitty fucking pinup that you're like, oh my god, it's been liked 5,000. It's got 5,000 likes. Look at all these comments. People love it. It's a fucking pinup. It tells me nothing of the ability of that person to tell sequential fucking story art. That Muhammad Assar, he's like one of the artists on X-Men. He's apparently like or whatever his fucking name is. I can't remember the name. That's probably the wrong name. I just know like, oh, he does, like, I've heard, oh, he does great pinup work. That don't mean shit. Like, no, like, oh, his interior work is not that good. maybe because he's not that good of an artist, like you can give enough fucking time. It's a pinup. You can, there's no rush. There's no comparison from page to page, panel to panel.
Yeah.
That like it. So, I have issues what I call a flutter, artistic flutter, where I'm working on something and sometimes maybe the face looks a little wonky, and I have to go back in and fix it. And sometimes I don't. Even if I go back and fix it, I miss something else. That happens. I mean, I just I'm fucked up that way artistically. But I'm not getting paid by Marvel or DC to do this shit. And like when that happens on a professional level, there's no one there to like, all right, we're not gonna hire this person again. Don't ask this person back. Whatever. That doesn't happen. They just keep, they don't learn from their fucking mistakes. And just
Right.
because somebody has a popular Instagram account where they post, oh wow, he drew a picture of Storm, we should hire him for an X-Men book. The fuck are you talking about? Just because you draw like one picture does not determine if a person's a good artist or not, especially a storyteller.
Right.
But I don't know. My personal opinion on that.
I feel the same kind of for the most part.
But I wanted to, even though this whole union stuff, but I wanted to mention you got some projects in the work currently. JuanPool, of course, right?
Always. I am. I'm actually in the middle of paneling out the next part of JuanPool. Finally.
Nice.
Finally. Some of those things I've been wanting to get to for a couple months now. But I just been picking up a lot of other projects. In particular, I'm working on a little project not even a little project. I'm working on an actual full blown project, Charger. Currently we have an Indiegogo live right now. I haven't checked it today, only because I was with my kiddo, so I don't know where we're at the current moment. But you should definitely go check it out. I'm sure I've retweeted it a few times, so you can see it on my timeline, and also make sure to follow Wes Collins at Charger Collins, and show a little support. It's a funny comic. I'd say it's like modern take on teenage superhero adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool, and I'm on the yacht, so it's at least not bad.
Well, I put the link for the Charger Indiegogo in the side chat, and so for those watching a replay, the chat stays up. I don't take down chat. Maybe if someone comes around and starts some trouble, maybe I might have to. But yeah, it's in the chat. So, but yes, hey, Charter seems like your thing, folks. Go check it out. Put some money towards it. Back it. Make it a reality, so you can see some more some more wonderful artwork, of course, because that's the thing. You don't like. Thank goodness you don't suck, dude, because I'd have to shine you. It's like he's a good artist, folks. Like, oh god, why am I lying? But yeah, if I had a company, dude, I'd hire you in a fucking heartbeat. I'd put you on the
Thank you
payroll.
so much. Thank you so
You know,
much.
you're
Um,
dedicated though. That's the thing. Like you're a fucking dedicated artist, and there's very few of those out there anymore. Because I know this is a project you're working on. You're work for hire. You're a mercenary coming in. You're a Hessian that came in out of the cold.
no, and that's the thing that I tell everybody, and that's why uh, I talk to so many people. I follow so many people, and I'm followed by so many people. I'm a merc. I'm not on a side. Anybody that needs to hire me to get a job done, go ahead. And that's why I stay out of everybody's stuff, because I'd rather make money. I hate
Understand.
that. I'm
Standard
gonna be that
debate.
honest guy. You know what I mean? Like I would rather my job be make comics professionally, full time. Because I'm a dad, I'm not trying to make money to be a rich dude with a big house and a pool. Like just you know what I mean? I'm a dad, so uh I want to make money so it could be my job and I can continue to be a dad and take care of my kid as good as I always do.
And you love making comics. And you love comics more than anything. I mean, talking about creating them. There's people that love making money, and there's people that love comics. And most of the time, never the twain shall meet. Very rarely does somebody that loves comics actually or is good at making a lot of money. There's people that are good at making a lot of money that might happen to make comics, but there is a big difference. I honestly feel it's like
Right.
Comics is in your blood. Like dude, you fucking made a comic. You put out JuanPool. You talked about it. You showed samples of it. You actually put it out. You fucking did it without doing this, long drawn out, crowdfunding, crowdfund me so I have months to work on this. He's like, fuck that shit. I'm just gonna do it. None of this
Well, I
all
mean,
talk bullshit. You just did it.
you just gotta do it. And I mean, and I make it sound easy because everybody's like, oh yeah, but I can't exactly do it. Um, but if you can do it, and if not, there's plenty of people that are doing it still.
Yeah. And like,
There's plenty. I'm just probably the most outspoken asshole about it. But I mean,
I'm not gonna
there's
disagree.
plenty of people that do it. Plenty of people do their stuff from scratch and put it out there. Um, uh, but yeah, and I say it like that so that no one ever questions my motive. I love comics. Not every single comic that's ever come out. I don't like every single character, but I love not just comics, but the concept of it and the medium is the storytelling medium. I like to use comics to tell a story. Um, Comics are what kind of molded me into the artist that I am today. So nothing would bring more joy to me than to be able to provide a life for myself by making comics. Like the point of it is to do what I love and make a living. And I'm not shy about that.
No, you shouldn't be. I mean, honestly, you should not be shy about it. You should not be hesitant and be like, oh well, to talk about, yeah, I'd like to get, you like to get paid for what you do. I for many years I still have it in my bones, as it were, to make do it yourself little mini comic stuff that most of the time no one would read except for me. I'd hand them out for free because they're like one sheet of photocopy paper I cut up, and it's like an 8-page comic, cover, back cover, 6 pages story, little boom boom boom, done. You read it in like less than a minute. And stuff like that. I did that because it was fun. I enjoyed doing it. But yeah, it's like if you actually want to make comics, you make comics. You don't need thousands of dollars up front to make the comics. By hook or by crook, you'll make them. But I think there's some people, they're in the game for the wrong reason. You're in the game because you love it. You're gonna get if you're in the game for to make money, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
If,
Yeah, no, it's gotta be both. It's gotta be either you love it or it's because both. But you can't get in it just because you think you're gonna make money because you gotta start small and then work up.
yeah,
Like I'm definitely this year, I am maybe 200% busier than what I was last year at this time. Last year at this time, I think I had maybe two pinup commissions, three.
hmm
Ooh, one of them was the cover for a Charger. Um, Now I'm like, like three public books, uh, two big side projects. Uh, you got to build it up and you got to work hard and you got to promote yourself. And I'm not saying you have to be nice guy pushover, but you have to be able to be civil with everybody you come in contact with.
and be honest with yourself too, because that shit you
Yeah.
can only act on for so long. Like I learned that the hard way many years ago. Don't be somebody you're not, because if you are, that facade will fade away, and everything will start crumbling. Just
Yeah.
be who you are, and if sometimes saying nothing's just better than than false praise. It's like like I'm a mush mouth. I stammer. I stutter. I have issues, but Jesus Christ, like there's times I'm like, don't say nothing. Ugh, this
Yeah.
comic stinks. It looks like shit. What the fuck kind of promotion is this stuff? And I mean, I'm being honest, but sometimes the honesty is not necessarily the best policy when it comes to just spouting out that. I'm not saying be dishonest, but I'm like, maybe just not say nothing. But
Yeah, no, I mean, like my whole thing is like, and that's why I even say a lot more these days. Like, you, I'm not saying for everybody to get along because that's impossible by human nature. People don't always get along,
and
but
accept that.
don't be a fucking dick. Do your thing and let people do their fucking thing.
Exactly.
You know, market
Exactly.
will decide if your stuff's good and you promote it well, you'll do just fine. And just that's it.
Well, I
And
think
that
that's a great way to wrap things up on. Was like, let that trust that free market. Let that free market decide. And don't be a dick about it. Just do your thing,
do you think
unapologetically, and not stress over that shit. Because like playing favorites, playing sides, well, if I do this, I'll be more popular with this people. I'm like, just be
it's
your own man, be your
it's
own
not good
woman.
for anybody. It's not good for anybody because, you know, and people look for someone to lead. And that's also human nature. You know, even the most independent person that's self-driven likes to look up to somebody else as well. You know, and when you start playing that fucking, like clicky popularity shit, you start bringing people away from what they got there for, and that's to find good stories.
Exactly,
So it
man.
ain't fair to the people that want to find good stories. And you always got to keep that in mind, that there's people that come in looking for an alternative to the shit that the mainstream gives out. And instead of giving them a complicated maze of who's who and what's what and why is everybody always fighting, we need to be providing good books for people.
Damn right. Damn right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you, Troy, for joining me this evening,
Anytime.
talking comics and all things unions and stuff like that. Maybe I'll revisit this topic at a later. Maybe I'll find someone's like pro union, comics union, creator union. Maybe touch upon this in the future. But yes, thank you again, and until next time, folks. This is Larry King signing off. Good night and good